In the hierarchy of the Third Reich, there were the stars, the loud, flamboyant monsters like Hermann Göring or Joseph Goebbels. And then there was Heinrich Müller. He was the gray man, the career policeman, the bureaucrat of terror. As the head of the Gestapo, Müller was the man who actually made the machinery of the Holocaust run. He was the one who signed the orders, tracked the dissidents, and turned Germany into a giant prison. But on May 1st, 1945, as the Soviet shells turned Berlin into a graveyard, Heinrich Müller did something that no other top-tier Nazi managed to do. He became a ghost. While Himmler bit a cyanide capsule and Göring stood trial at Nuremberg, Müller simply walked out of the Führerbunker and into the pages of unsolved history. For 80 years, the world has asked the same question. How does the most hunted policeman in the world simply disappear? Today, we go inside the cold, mechanical mind of Gestapo Müller to find out if he died in the rubble or if he pulled off the greatest vanishing act in human history. To understand how Müller vanished, you have to understand who he was. Unlike most Nazi leaders, Müller wasn't an old fighter. He didn't care about ideology. He cared about order. In the 1920s, he was a Munich policeman who actually spent his time arresting Nazis. He was so good at his job that when the Nazis took power, Heinrich Himmler and Reinhard Heydrich didn't execute him. They hired him. Müller was a technician of death. He was the man who mentored Adolf Eichmann. He was the man who turned the final solution from a hateful idea into a logistical reality. He was cold, humorless, and obsessively private. He hated being photographed. He had no hobbies. He worked 18-hour days. He was the ultimate secret policeman. He knew everyone's secrets, every general's mistress, every minister's corruption, every spy's double-cross. This knowledge was his greatest weapon, and many believe it was the currency he used to buy his freedom. The last reliable sighting of Heinrich Müller took place in the Führerbunker on May 1, 1945. Hitler was already dead. The Red Army was less than 2 blocks away. The air was thick with the smell of cordite and diesel. Hans Bauer, Hitler's personal pilot, later claimed he saw Müller in the hallway. Bauer told him, "Müller, we have to get out. The Russians are coming." Müller's response was chillingly calm. He looked at Bauer and said, We know the Russian methods exactly. I haven't the slightest intention of being taken prisoner by the Russians." He was last seen wearing his black uniform, carrying a small leather briefcase, and walking toward the exit that led into the ruined gardens of the Chancellery. He didn't look like a man in a panic. He looked like a man going to a business meeting. When the breakout of the bunker began later that night, Müller wasn't in any of the groups. He didn't try to flee with the others. He went his own way. In August 1945, 3 months after the war ended, a body was found in a shallow grave in the ruins of the Air Ministry. It was wearing a Gestapo general's uniform, and inside the pocket was Heinrich Müller's identity card. The case seemed closed. The Gestapo chief was dead. But in 1963, the West German government ordered the body to be exhumed. When the grave was opened, they found a shocking truth. The grave contained the remains of 3 different people, and none of them matched Heinrich Müller's dental records or height. The body had been a plant, a decoy. Müller, the master of deception, had staged his own death. He had used his knowledge of police forensics to create a fake trail. This discovery sent a shockwave through the intelligence world. If he wasn't in that grave, where was he? One of the most persistent theories is that Müller went east. During the war, Müller was the head of Red Orchestra counter-espionage. He spent years interrogating Soviet spies. He understood the NKVD better than anyone in the West. There are rumors that Müller had been a back-channel contact for the Soviets as early as 1943, and realizing the war was lost. Some historians believe that on May 1st, Müller didn't run from the Russians, but to them. They argue that the Soviets wouldn't have executed a man with Müller's knowledge. They would have used him. In the early Cold War, rumors surfaced of a man matching Müller's description working in Moscow, helping the Soviets set up the Stasi, the East German secret police. To the Soviets, Müller was the ultimate prize, the man who knew the blueprint of the most efficient police state in history. Then, there is the American connection. In the late 1940s, the U.S. Army Counterintelligence Corps, CIC, was desperately searching for Müller. But their reports are strange. In one file, they claim he was seen in Switzerland. In another, they say he was working for the Czechs. In the 1990s, a series of documents surfaced known as the Gregory Douglas Papers, claiming that Müller had been recruited by the U.S. and lived out his life in the United States, advising the CIA on anti-communist tactics. While most historians believe these specific papers are forgeries, the core idea remains. Did the West trade justice for information? We know from Operation Paperclip that the U.S. was willing to take Nazi scientists. Would they take a Gestapo chief if he promised them the names of every Soviet mole in Washington? The final theory is the most common for high-ranking Nazis, the rat line. Did Müller follow Eichmann and Mengele to South America? In the 1950s, the Israeli Mossad received a tip that Müller was living in Argentina. They even tracked a man they believed was Müller to a small town, but the lead went cold. Unlike Eichmann, Müller was a master of the disappearing act. He knew how to change an identity, how to stay off the grid, and how to never, ever be photographed. If Müller lived in South America, he did it as a shadow. He didn't join the Nazi social clubs in Buenos Aires. He didn't write memoirs. He simply existed until he didn't. Some believe he died peacefully in his bed in the 1970s, a quiet grandfather in a suburb of Cordoba, taking the secrets of the Holocaust to his grave. The tragedy of Heinrich Müller isn't just that he escaped justice, it's that he proved his own philosophy. Müller believed that if you were efficient enough, cold enough, and private enough, you could transcend history. He was the architect of a system designed to make people disappear, and in the end, he used that system on himself. Whether he died in a Soviet prison, a CIA safe house, or an Argentine villa, we may never know. But the fact that his name still appears on most wanted lists decades after his likely death proves that the ghost of the Gestapo still haunts our understanding of the war. He is the one who got away. What do you think happened to Heinrich Müller? Did he sell his soul to the Americans, or did he die in the fire of Berlin? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to know about the secret rat lines that helped other Nazis escape, click the video on your screen now.